But please give a warm applause to Ori Maron, the program manager, New Mobility at Port of Rotterdam. Jasne Prilop, head of projects at DRO, Deutsche Rail Operations. Then we have Andrea Costa, Innovation Officer at EIT Urban Mobility, who are also the people who do Tomorrow Mobility here. And last but not least, Johannes Winter, Operational Excellence Smart Infrastructure at Drees and Sommer. So maybe to dive in a bit, let's do a warm-up, 1 minute. For you, where does your organization currently stand with mobility innovation, and what's your personal connection to the Hyperloop or high-speed mobility vision? Johannes, go first.
Shall I start?
Yes, please. Great. And yeah, use the mic. You have to come a bit closer to the mic.
I said it yesterday already. It's actually, for me, great to be back again with the Hyperloop friends. And I think from friendship, it's more than be hyper friend. It's a conference now. And it's not just speaking about the technology itself. Jörg, I loved it, what you did before with the gap analysis, where now finally we are speaking about smart city integration. And what is Drees and Sommer doing? Drees and Sommer started as architects. Drees and Sommer was doing real estate, was doing consulting in buildings, but we said in Drees and Sommer we want to see the entire picture, the infrastructure, smart transportation, and also how looks the future of transportation. And this is what I'm doing now since more than 5 years, where Drees and Sommer says we are planning, we are doing constructions, but also operations, and that means bringing operations back to the planning phase. And I'm looking forward to the panel today, speaking with experts in operations, with experts on harbors and automated transportation, and now finally not just looking to the topic of the Hyperloop technology, having the integrated approach. And I know I only have 1 minute. Sorry,
well,
Kathleen.
so we will come back to your background a bit later. So let's throw the ball to Andrea. Give us a bit
As far
insight.
as concern EIT Urban Mobility, the answer is none up to today. So we have no...
Use the mic a bit more.
Yes. We have no experience with such technology up to today. I have to say that I studied a lot in the last few days.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, but indeed, I mean, we have experience with innovation, especially innovation applied to mobility. So I think that what we can bring today to the table is that is our experience in this sense, and eventually to bring also the I would say society and cities perspective, no? Because this is something that eventually is sometimes missing. I mean, still missing, no? And this is important, especially if this innovative solution move on to the next step, that is engaging also society. No? So definitely it's the reason why we are here today.
Thank you. Jasne, your point.
Yes. Hello. I was actually thinking, because I'm also involved in Hyperloop topics for many years now. We started with very small feasibility studies and visiting all of the developers. We had such great discussions, and then we started to looking from an operator's perspective onto the system, because there are some great opportunities, and that's what we are now doing within Deutsche Rail Operations for quite a time, next to our other railway projects. So happy to be here.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ori, welcome.
First of all, thank you, Kathleen, for the invitation. It's a little bit out of my routine to participate in Hyperloop events like this, but it's certainly very nice. We are no strangers to our Hyperloop at the Port of Rotterdam. We are very proud of the winning of the Elon Musk competition by Hard Eye Hyperloop. And we have 2 representatives at least that I gathered here that came to the event. And we wanted to support them. And as a nature, the Port of Rotterdam is a large port. It's concerned very much with things like safety and daily operations and maintenance, but it devotes a lot of resources to the port of tomorrow, the port of the future, and we want to be ready for that. And Hyperloop is part of our portfolio when we look at this future. It's not going to come tomorrow, but it's definitely interesting. It's what we would call deep innovation, and it's in our culture to support it. So we are very happy to do that. And I'll talk a little bit more later about it, but that would be my background. We are looking at it, but we are still thinking about how it's going to play out eventually in port operations. It's probably going to play out a significant role. So I would be happy to discuss.
Maybe just already to step on further here, you have been now 3 times today on the stage, so thank you for being the 4th time here with us. So you have been with Smart Ports, another side event. And so what you didn't hear earlier in the audience, we talked about also where would be a station of a Hyperloop be placed in the city, or like, and for instance, it could be kind of obvious is at airports, but what about ports? Could you see a not near a port serving both as passenger hub and a freight integrator? And could you see synergies there, just from your visionary point of innovation thinking?
We are very reluctant to say no. We usually tend to say yes, and we get a lot of problems with our management for that. And we have a lot of examples for that. We came to our management and said, that was 5 years ago, why don't we become the supervisor of our own airspace? And we were almost kicked out of the room. And lo and behold, 3 years later, we became the manager of our own airspace, and we are giving flight permissions as a seaport, not only to drones, but also to helicopters. So my answer would be, we would look very carefully at that. I personally, unlike the case of drones, I'm still on the fence as to how cargo should be assigned to very high-speed transport modalities. And the reason is because cargo is going to rather inefficient process where the handling in the terminals can take days. And if we can save hours in the last mile or last 1,000 mile in this case transport, then that would not revolutionize the door-to-door handling of a cargo. Maybe that applies also to rail. The average delay of a train at the port is 4 days now. I'm sorry to say.
4 days.
So, 4 days. Yeah, we will see. I don't have a good answer now, but we will not say no to looking very carefully into this question. It's a wonderful question.
Thank you. Maybe Jasne, to take that as a from the operator side. You manage complex, independent rail systems. How do you envision a Hyperloop connecting or diverging from existing metro and rail operations in the city? Or maybe in other words, what are the infrastructure and planning consequences from an urban side?
So if we envision the big goal of a comprehensive Hyperloop network throughout Europe, it will always start by having first connections between 2 cities with a very high transport demand. And we discussed some parts about it today, but I think if we try to find a solution, the fast way to implement such a very first Hyperloop line would always be by using existing infrastructure that we already have today. Because every new land which is required needs costs you about 15 to 20 years time due to approval procedures. So if we bring that into the consequences for a city, you will not have the one main Hyperloop station, as you know, from rail today, but rather have various smaller stations around the city next to the highway, for example, also next to existing infrastructure, where you have connection points with the urban, a high-capacity urban transportation. So a consequence for the city would probably be providing a good connection to the Hyperloop stations, which means to increase also the or provide a reliable, high-capacity urban transportation mode. And for some cities, that would mean to also increase operating trains to the outer areas, to where the Hyperloop stations are. But I think what is even the bigger impact, or the most important impact for cities, is that commuters easily can travel distances from up to 150 kilometers on a daily basis. So you can relieve a city that is dense, that is under pressure, by connecting it with a good high-speed Hyperloop line and create affordable and attractive places to live outside, on the countryside even, in front of the cities.
Thank you. Maybe for everybody, we talked a lot today about the development from the technical point of view, but also about infrastructure. We had the developers on stage. From your point of view, to make Hyperloop part of a city that is not, and it's not just a bullet train and a tube, how should the infrastructure and the operations be co-developing, or who should lead? Is it the infrastructure developers, or is it the mobility operators? Anybody can take that question. Johannes, Andrea?
Okay, I go first. Well, in my opinion, first of all, there is a question on top of this, that is, which is the business case? Because for me, what is really important is to define the technology in terms of freight transport or passenger transport, because this changed completely the paradigm, in the sense that if you are looking for I would say, solution for freight transport, definitely, in that case, there is no need eventually to reach the core of the city center, no? Rather, the terminals or the peripheral area would be even more interesting. So this would definitely give some advantage in the sense of integrated such solution with what already existing. But of course, if you go for transport of passengers, the paradigm completely changed, because in that case, the attractiveness, in my opinion, of this solution would be to get as much as closer as possible to the city center. Mm-hmm. So this goes, into a situation in which the challenge and in terms of integration are much more, I would say, difficult to solve. No, so in that sense, you should definitely rely on the flexibility of the solution itself. So you cannot, I would say, rely on the fact that the city will adapt to the solution. It's rather the other way around. No? So you need to design something that is able to adapt to what already exists elsewhere. To me, the adoption would be almost impossible from a city point of view.
Mm-hmm. Johannes, you are like, yes, I hear you. But
when I say I'm prepared, maybe it's not exactly the truth, but I have something with me. I was 3 weeks ago at the monorail conference in Singapore, and a city and station planner was speaking. And the only thing what I do now, I replace monorail with Hyperloop, what he said, and maybe it's very exactly what you said here right now. He said, when planning, Hyperloop-enabled city infrastructure is not just the line itself that challenges planner, it's an opportunity to rethink the entire built environment around the station and the city. And it's exactly what you said right now. It's not the city changing to Hyperloop, it's how do we Hyperloop, or finally speaking, in transportation and solutions for the city. Then he said, the stations needs to be designed as integrated, large-scale, multimodal smart hubs with the direct connections to metro, rail, bus, and micromobility, but also to goods and freights and these things, and with a special emphasis on walkability and the accessibility. And then it doesn't matter if it's in the center or if it's outside in the area, and you have other mode of transportation with the perfect interface to it. The area will undergo significant urban transformation, higher land values, denser mixed-use development and increased commercial activity, but planners must actively mitigate risk of gentrification and social polarization. And now we have exactly what we are talking here today, the smart city thinking. We did a feedback round 2 years ago and also last year where we said it would be great not just having the technology guys here. Maybe we have some guys from operations here, and yes, we made it. And maybe also the wish for next year. Today we see in the background the pictures of the tube. We see here the green area and also the Hyperloop system. Where is our picture of the future with the city itself, with the station, with where are the architects, where is our entire picture. And this is something he showed, how looks the station in 2050, and the station, you haven't seen a station anymore. You saw the airport city, you saw an airport what is integrated to the city, and you did not know anymore where is the city center. It was just a combination of everything. And that collaborating utilities, mobility operators, and technology providers from the outset to create this truly integrated urban mobility ecosystem. And I was now only reading what he was saying, but at the end, this is exactly what we are focusing here. And I go back to what you did before, Jan, when you did this gap analysis and you checked the box when we said we are ready with technology, and 2 things were somehow missing, or 3 things: the politics, the banks, the financing thing, and also operations. And this is also what we understand as operational excellence, combining these 3 things and starting from the beginning with the business case. And now I refer back to you again.
I would add also society, because
Yes.
The acceptance of this solution definitely could make you a choice or another, no? So,
Yeah.
Society is the most important thing, and therefore let's change the picture away from the tube and the vacuum and some levitation into show them the entire picture, that this is the benefit, the values for them, that they see, hey, I want to take this other mode of transportation, or maybe they don't even see the difference of technology if this is Hyperloop or a cable car. I just want to go in and want to arrive. This is my benefit.
Yeah.
Now that opens so many questions for me now, so let me try to nail it down to one more, Johannes, which is around electricity. So when we're talking about smart cities, and I always see these AI-generated images where everything is green and you don't even see anymore any cables or like where stuff comes from, but we are all so energy thirsty. And I'm pretty sure that Hyperloop also needs a lot of energy. So how is this, how can we do it that the city power networks and the that there's an energy resilient planning for the cities? I mean, Drees and Sommer is also working on, I think, on grid and smart charging integrations, right? So where do you see that point?
This is doing it sounds this consultant language, the holistic infrastructure planning. And this brings us also back what we saw this morning. What are perfect spots and perfect locations? And I refer again back to you where you said, is Hyperloop in the city, or what is the perfect location for the best Hyperloop station? Is it the future airport city? And this is also what we are doing in Drees and Sommer, developing airport city of the future, where you start first with the infrastructure itself. Where's the energy coming from? What is the contribution to the social area and these things? And afterwards, is then the technology coming? But maybe I'm not the best one answering that. Maybe also you or you, Jasne, want to add something to the energy topic as well.
I'm kind of sure the port of Rotterdam has also a lot of expertise there.
Yeah, the energy transition is at the core of what we are acting on. And any modality, you ask, where would the station be of a Hyperloop at the port? With the right maturity level, I would say everywhere, if you can really prove that it's more energy efficient and then other transport modality, next to the immense advantage of speed also. Where the energy should come from is a key question, but also how much energy would you need is very important to determine. If it's more efficient than other modes of transport, then we would act to make the energy available. That's a relatively standard problem. We're doing it today with what's called key wall electricity provision, where we are taking over the engines of very large vessels in supplying clean electricity to ships instead of them running their generators and polluting the area. That's a very difficult problem to solve, but we are confident that we can solve it because that's more efficient. And it's a hard problem to solve. The energy will be found because we are convinced that we have a good reason to find it. So we have the resources to provide the energy. we want to know that the modality is sustainable. That's the key question.
Talking about energy sustainability, it leads me to reliability and redundancy and robust fallback systems. Jasne, from your experience, what metrics or guarantees would you require from a Hyperloop operator or technological provider before considering integration into a city transport portfolio?
I think that this is exactly the biggest advantage of a Hyperloop, that it's a closed system. So you have a dedicated high-speed system, you have no interference or no storm which can interrupt your operation. You have also no mixed traffic on the line, which is always a big problem in rail. So this creates a very high predictability for the end user, because you have short waiting times. You know that your trains will be no late. There will be no late trains in this system. So the Hyperloop can create transportation with a maximum resilience and safety.
I want to stay a bit in this with the theme here with systems and operations. Andrea, you work with city innovation ecosystems across Europe. What enablers, such as funding mechanisms, city industry partnerships, or regulatory sandboxes, we talked about sandboxes today, must be in place to bring Hyperloop into a smart city strategy?
Concerning this question, the way that I start to think about it was basically, again, I'm completely new in the sector of Hyperloop.
But we want to have your tomorrow mobility.
No, exactly. What I want to give you is a perspective of somebody that is not directly engaged in the technology.
And that's why we invited you.
Exactly. So what I did was comparing the definition of smart cities with I would say, main characteristic of a Hyperloop solution. So what I did is that in order to be a city considered smart, what are the characteristics? It should be definitely digital, and then I make a check on the Hyperloop solution. Should be autonomous, should be connected, check. Should be low carbon or even net zero emission, check. Low energy, check. Safer, eventually, yes. But then there are some aspects that, for what I've seen today, still I have some doubt, that are basically, I would say, inclusive, and replicable. Hyperloop is a solution that and this is an open question, inclusive. In the way that, and I come back to the business case, which is the final customer? Is this for all the people in the city, or is this for specific group of people, for the businessmen and women, for example? This is something that needs to be answered. And this doesn't mean that there is a correct or a wrong answer. But when you go for seeking for funds, this should be clear. Because if you are thinking of a full inclusive solution, of course, this is what also Europe is seeking. And then eventually, it's much more easy to go for a public fund. But if you are thinking in something that is designed for a very specific group of people, in that case, eventually, private, I would say, investment is more attracted to this kind of solution. So this is for sure something that need to be taken into account. And the other part that, to me, need to really be thinking is the fact that Hyperloop passed throughout some city, but not to other. So this is also an important aspect that need to be taken into account when we design the system, because that will be a system at European level, not a local level. So if you decided, for example, to use the... Sorry, because...
No worries. Can someone reduce the volume? I think it gets higher and higher. I have to speak like that and you can still hear me.
To whisper eventually. So this is something that need to be taken into account, because for sure certain city will remain outside, or eventually certain region of Europe remain outside, at least for the first, I would say, design. No? So this is something that need to be defended in some way. Why I say this? Because you are, guys, I would say, in a stage that you want to pass from, I would say, laboratory. I would say into society.
From the prototype to a real commercial.
To at least to the real life demonstration.
True.
Or
right now, yes.
I mean, this is. So you need to start think that when you get a big prize, and eventually, and all we hope this, that Hyperloop will be founded with a big grant. In that case, there are also critics that will come, because it's easy to speak to people that already are open-minded to this solution. But then you have to speak with competitors. And for sure, there are some aspects that eventually need to be proven still. So this is where I think, therefore, should go in this sense, to the business case, which is the real business case for this kind of solution, and how to defend it in front of eventually some critics.
Yeah, we talked earlier about also trusting the numbers, that you can actually defend it in front of the critics. Maybe because you already mentioned it, digital cities, maybe a question for all of you. And we saw it downstairs, and I also asked it in the other panel. We see a lot about digital twins and integrated data platforms. All the AI companies are down there. If you could design one bridge project or a pilot today to start aligning Hyperloop with that digital city stack, what would it look like? Anybody? Maybe Johannes, because you're much more involved in city planning.
Much still what you said before.
And you can also tap onto that.
One step back. Then
go ahead. Go back and then come ahead.
I met with friends over the weekend, and then I told them I go to the Hyperloop conference. And the first thing what I said, what is this about? Is this the new Concorde for the business guys between Paris and New York? And I was like, all right, okay. And then we were speaking exactly what you said. The business cases, is it for businessmen? Is it for the normal people? Is it for the entire group? And especially this crossing the borders. It's not the system for the US, it's not the system for Germany, it's not the system for France. We are crossing borders. And speaking about the digital twin and things, now I really go to a totally different topic in transportation. We in Drees and Sommer, we had the task more than 4 years ago to do a guideline for German cities and communities about cable cars. What is now here, how can I compare cable cars with Hyperloop? Because it was seen that cable car can maybe help to bring solutions into cities. But the question was always, are they technically ready? Is the product ready? And then they did the task of having 6 stations, and it has to go faster and faster. But then it's not a cable car anymore, then it's a metro. And what is the solution? And we did the study only in Germany, and it's fun that in Germany has 16 different regulations of cable cars. Each little country, 16. There are 16 Bundesländer, and you have 16 different regulations. And what is the reason why there's currently not an urban cable car in Germany, but there is one in Paris now getting opened end of the year. There's one in Toulouse already in operation, and there's one in London. It's not the technology, it's what is the project about and what's the acceptance of the passengers, the people, and the cities. And now finally thinking not in the product, thinking in the project organization and starting again with the business case and acceptance. And therefore I loved it, how you said it. Is it for businessmen, or how can this integration be done? And for the cable car, we built an entire BIM model and a digital twin then for the city to showcase it from the very beginning and press this play button. How does the city X look like in 2030, 2035, but also 2040? And then it comes back where you don't show how this cable car is running from A to B, how the city development is changing. and then you can talk to investors. Currently, this land, this square meter costs €5. In 2035, it costs €50, and 5 years later, it's €500 per square meter, just through this development of this infrastructure. And maybe that's a good start answering to your first part of the question that I can refer maybe back to you.
Oh, you don't have to, but Andrea, one more thing that you want to say? Otherwise, I guess.
Just to add that eventually a good, I would say, initiative eventually in order to engage people would be to bring at this phase of the development to bring the innovation outside the laboratory. So eventually put in a simulator in a city and give to the people the opportunity to test inside a mock-up what would be the technology.
Yeah. How far away are we with that?
Collecting some feedback from the people to say, what do you think about it? Because at the end of the day, you also need to prepare a narrative for the people. Because of course, it is easy to say, this is a technology that is let you go faster and reach, I mean, in less time, one point to another. But the other side of the coin is that you have to be put inside a capsule to be pushed at 700 kilometers per hour in a tube that is almost without air. So, and in case of accident, there is no escape, no? So this is something that also need to be, I would say, well explained in terms of safety, in terms of all the kind of, so, I mean, it's important to get feedback for the people, because at the end, if you eventually discover that people don't want to use this technology, for sure the freight would be the best business case, you know? So I mean, this is, for me, also another important aspect that they take into account.
Okay, how do I do the transition now? So we don't want it to be the next Concorde where only business people are using it. Jasne, so let's talk from the rail operations and maybe more to have it as an inclusive, resilient, and livable, or to help cities to be inclusive, livable, and resilient. Can Hyperloop be a solution, a transition, a mobility transition to Hyperloop? Can it work?
I mean, Hyperloop is a smart thing. So we're talking about smart cities. Hyperloop is smart, and of course pays off to all these topics. So pays off helping to decarbonize mobility, and also create again affordable living, etc. Also, something which is often discussed is the transit-oriented development, for example, which creates the opportunity if you build a Hyperloop line between two big cities, that you can every 20 kilometers easily implement a small station, even if it's in the completely countryside. With these stations, you don't impact the travel times or the capacity of the main line. But if you connect the countryside to high-speed transportation to the big cities, it will automatically become attractive. So for affordable living, but also, for example, for industries to settle outside of the cities, but still have a good accessibility for customers and employees. And I think all of this is all of this pays off to the goals of smart city.
Maybe a question for all of you, and already to have the clock here and saying, I know, Johannes, you have to go to the airport, so maybe I start with you. And this is a question for all of you. When you think about bringing Hyperloop into cities, what's the biggest obstacle from your point of view, from your professional point of view? We heard a couple from the developers and from the policymakers. Is it land use, regulation, public acceptance, you already mentioned, costs, or is it technological maturity? And which stakeholders must act first? Johannes, please take it.
I start and I can go. I would love to stay actually for another 5 days. I love it. It's a mix of everything. And it's not a topic about technology anymore. And I think this conference shows it exactly, that we finally see that we are integrating all the topics. And exactly what you say, I have to explain my neighbor what is Hyperloop, but in easy, simple words, and not just explain. He has to be convinced, my neighbor, and he has to see it. We have to speak about the business case. We have to speak about, we do feasibility studies, but is it still technical feasibility studies, or is it holistic feasibility studies with this full integration? And please, let's get rid of the technical feasibility studies and doing one more thing and one more thing and one more thing. Let's do the full integration of all the different topics. And I go back to your 9 items plan over there. I loved it. And he ticked the boxes where he said, here decide, are we at level 1 or level 9? We saw a lot of numbers what was lower than 3 and 2. And this is where we have to act and fulfill this.
I'm happy that you did the workshop at the end, Jörg. Thank you so much. Perfect. And you know what? It's 37. You are 3 minutes earlier to be. So please, warm applause to Johannes Winter. He has to catch a flight.
See you sooner than next year. It was more than a pleasure, and thanks for the entire organization. I love it.
Oh,
See
fantastic.
you soon.
Tell your colleagues. And that helps me to get this off. Then I can just jump next to you. Oh. Do you understand how extreme that hurts? Ouch. I mean, I'm used to these ones, but that one is specific. So, Andrea, same question for you. Yeah. Do you remember the question?
Yeah.
Good.
I think so. Yeah, for me, of course, the very important thing is now at this phase is to society engagement. Mm-hmm. Of course, and policy engagement, because at the end of the day, this is what is really important, no? But in order to create this lobby that could eventually push this technology on a second phase, on a more developed phase, definitely we should create the correct narrative around the solution, and in order to do this, we need to have a clear business case about why we want the Hyperloop into the society, and which is the real, I would say, the real benefit of having this. So this is what we should eventually first clarify, and then define the narrative, and then goes for getting found.
Thank you. I really like that. Jasne, what is it? Land use, regulations, public acceptance, the society in general, the narrative, costs or technological obstacles?
So I really liked the outcome from today to say technology, check the box, because we already have all of the system components. So what needs to be done is the system integration into the overall system. With the components we have, with the technology we have, but also with the certification we have, this would be possible for speeds up to 500 kilometers per hour already today. Further research can also be done later on. And I think we talked a lot about the reference line today, and that's actually the next big step which needs to be done to bring this further to the realization. But there are still many obstacles or hurdles on the political side, but also on the financing side, which I think needs to be need the next check mark.
Okay, check. Hopefully next year, check. And Uri, I mean,
one word.
Innovation is what you breathe.
Yeah, the biggest hurdle to the realization of Hyperloop, for me, and I'm not an expert on passenger transport, is data. And I'm not completely new to the area of Hyperloop, at least as a concept. But I still don't know how much it's going to cost, how much capacity can we channel through it when we are considering containerized or non-containerized freight, what kind of predictability it would offer us if instead of a 4 days delay, we can transfer a train load with a highly predictable outcome. Maybe we can live with a higher cost. I don't know. We don't have data to assess any of that. So it's very difficult for us to even start a discussion about it. And as I said before, we decided to support it. We allocated testing grounds for Hyperloop at cost. We are working with the city to scale up players in the Netherlands, because we are a Dutch player, because we are proud of it. But we decided also not to consider using it at this point, because we don't have the data. So for us, the data is the biggest hurdle. And I'm not saying that I'm a complete believer. I still have to be convinced that the immense technical problems have been mitigated. But assuming that that this thing would work perfectly and quickly, I don't know what kind of impact it would make for my business. So data.
Data, and nobody said that today, so that's a good end for my questions. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe Martin, you come on stage to help me wrap up.